Good day, this is your word for the day from Anchor Church in Tanzania. You know, change is inevitable. Most of us don't like it, but it's inevitable. Change will come. You know, we get comfortable even when we're struggling. We don't want change. You know, many times I've heard people say, rather the devil you know than the devil you don't know. So they'll keep on struggling, but don't change things, you know. As God's children, we should always be ready for change. Many times God has to really pluck us out of our comfort zone to make sure that we head in the right direction and for us to grow spiritually. You know, the church is most probably the most difficult place to change because we're a group of people, different walks of life, different ideas, but we don't like change. We get used to stuff and we want it to remain like that. So God has to now work in us individually in order to be able to work through us corporately. Because He can't work if there's no change. He's a God of new things. So our personal lives are often where change has to start, where we have to allow it. Sometimes we just need small changes, like pruning a tree, you know, for new growth, or just a little move here, a little move there. And sometimes God has to uproot us completely and transplant us in a different garden, or in a different place in the same garden. The Israelites got comfortable in the desert. They settled in. It wasn't the promised land, but it worked for them. Even though it was a hard life, they didn't want to move. They were settling. They were starting to live there and be comfortable there. And Deuteronomy 1 verse 6 says, "When we were at Mount Sinai, the Lord our God said to us, 'You have stayed at this mountain long enough. It's time to break camp and move on. Go to the hill country.' And if you read on, you'll see in verse 8 it says, 'Look, I'm giving all this land to you. Go in and occupy it.'" Now, some people might say I'm quoting this out of context. But this is how God works with His people. He only wants the best for us. And God never changes. He has a plan and a purpose for our lives, each and every one of us individually. And to achieve that, change is inevitable. God never takes a gift back. But we many times delay the receiving of the gift. You know, a God-ordained change is actually a gift. And fear is what's preventing us from accepting it. And many times, years are wasted. Years are wasted. Because we're only willing to change when we can see the end result. We don't want to go in faith. Abraham never knew what was waiting for him when God told him to go. But his obedience to pack up and go made it possible for us to be adopted into God's family today. Now we read in Genesis 12 verse 1, the Lord said to Abraham, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you." And if you read a bit further, you'll see that he packed up and he left. He went. This load that you see behind me is Dee's mom. We're moving her to us. God is replanting her to a new garden and to a start of a new season in her life. Is it easy for her? Not at all. But she's going in faith because although she has no idea what the future holds, she knows who holds the future. Change is inevitable. The sooner we can accept that, the sooner God can work in us and continue His work in us that He's already started, to move towards the ultimate goal that we read in 2 Corinthians 3 verse 18. It says, "And all of us who have had the veil removed can see and reflect the glory of the Lord. And the Lord, who is the Spirit, makes us more and more like Him as we are changed into His glorious image." And that's what we want. So I want to leave this with you. And I want to say, go in peace and ask God to show you where and when change in your life is necessary and what He wants to change. And then allow Him to bring about that change. Amen.